every lie sounds reasonable, until logic begins to speak. And 2,000 years ago, a man from Stagira forged the most dangerous weapon against deceit: reasoning. In the marketplace of Athens, orators shouted their own versions of truth. Crowds cheered, swayed by beautiful words and emotions wrapped in conviction. But in a quiet corner, Aristotle only smiled faintly. To him, truth was not about who spoke the loudest, but who thought correctly. He introduced something new: the syllogism. If all men are mortal and Socrates is a man, then Socrates is mortal, simple yet lethal. With that pattern, Aristotle dismantled claims, separating fact from illusion. Those who think wrongly, he said, can make lies sound like virtue. From that moment on, logic became a sword in the hands of anyone brave enough to question the words of the powerful. But logic came with a price. In a world built on belief and myth, logic was rebellion. When Aristotle taught people to think for themselves, he wasn't just defying the sophists, he was defying an entire system that thrived on ignorance. His students were warned: if you think too deeply, the world will accuse you of digging your own grave. But Aristotle kept digging. Centuries later, in courtrooms, newsrooms, and political debates, the same principles still peel away layers of deception. Aristotle's logic still works, like a timeless lie detector that never sleeps. There was a time when truth was sold like a commodity. The best speaker won, the thinker lost, until Aristotle arrived and said, "Let us measure truth, not by feeling, but by reasoning." The sophists ruled Greece with rhetoric. They sold victory in debate, not truth. They could make black sound like white, and people believed, because words are more seductive than logic. Aristotle watched with quiet anger. To him, words without structure were fog, beautiful but deadly. He began to write Organon, a collection of thinking tools. He taught how to weigh premises, find hidden errors, and strip arguments down to their bones. Yet this power of thought made him dangerous. Rulers feared those who could spot cracks in their speeches, and the people, addicted to comforting illusions, grew uneasy before naked truth. Centuries later, Aristotle's logic became the foundation of law, journalism, and science. The sophists, mere footnotes in history. In the end, the world realized those who can think will always defeat those who merely speak. A lie is not a shouting enemy. It whispers softly, disguised as truth. But Aristotle found a way to dissect it, with logic. To him, every lie had a structure. One false premise, one deceptive conclusion. Like a doctor reading wounds, Aristotle read the errors of thought, fallacies. He wrote a long list, ad hominem, hasty generalization, argumentum ad populum. Not just theory, a map to fight mental manipulation. When someone said, "Everyone believes it, therefore it's true," Aristotle replied, "Many once believed the earth was flat too." Logic made him seem cold, even dangerous, because anyone who can unravel lies can shake power built on illusion. Now, thousands of years later, algorithms and AI still run on Aristotle's logic. Every claim tested, every data point connected. Ironically, in a digital world full of deceit, the oldest human weapon is once again the sharpest. They thought philosophy was just idle talk in dusty rooms. But for Aristotle, it was the most dangerous weapon in the world. He carried no sword, only words that pierced the heart of falsehood. When tyrants preached about justice, Aristotle asked, "What is justice?" When people spoke of goodness, he asked, "For whom?" With those questions, he shattered tyranny from within. His philosophy wasn't just theory, it was survival tactics for the free mind. Yet the more people began to think, the fewer would submit. Rulers started calling logic a poison to order. Aristotle was forced to leave Athens, not for a crime, but for being too right. And from exile came the works that built modern science. A beautiful irony, the world exiled him, then surrendered to his mind. You may not realize it, but every time you think logically, you become Aristotle's student. From courts to boardrooms, from classrooms to political debates. Every argument you make follows his blueprint. Premise, conclusion, contradiction, causality. That's his language. That's his legacy. Aristotle wrote for Greece, but his logic crossed continents and millennia. Today, every algorithm, every law, every system of thought still speaks his structure. Yet the modern world is noisy. Logic often loses to emotion and opinion. If Aristotle lived today, he might say, "Truth doesn't need volume, only evidence." We may no longer sit in his academy, but every time we refuse to believe before we understand, we become his students once again. Emotion burns, logic cools, but when those two forces collide, the world explodes. Aristotle knew the real victory lies not in the loudest voice, but in the calmest mind. In the agora, people shouted to defend their beliefs. One side cried, another raged. No one listened. Aristotle stood in the middle, watching them like children lost in a storm of emotion. He wrote about pathos, the ethos, and logos, the three weapons of rhetoric. He knew emotion could persuade, but without logic, it was a wave without direction. Use emotion to deliver, he said, not to decide. But the world prefers to burn rather than think. In courts, forums, and politics, logic began to lose to anger. Aristotle realized truth isn't always loud enough to defeat feeling. Centuries later, social media repeats the same tragedy. Outrage goes viral. Logic drowns, and if Aristotle lived today, he might post one line on a blue screen. Thinking is the quietest revolution that can shake the world. Imagine politics without logic, a theater of promises with no truth behind the stage. Aristotle saw it all. 2,000 years ago, in politics, he didn't speak of parties or power, but of balance between reason and ambition. He warned, when logic is replaced by interest, nations will live on lies repeated long enough to sound true. To him, politics was not the art of manipulating people, but the art of organizing humans so that truth could survive. He wrote, "The true leader is not the one most loved, but the one who dares to think when all others choose to shout." But that thought made him the enemy of tyrants. In a world ruled by rhetoric, a thinker was seen as a threat. Now every time a leader speaks without evidence, every time opinion replaces fact, Aristotle seems to whisper, logic takes no sides. It only chooses truth. If logic was born in ancient Greece, then the internet is its most brutal battlefield. The world is at our fingertips, but our thoughts grow shorter. Aristotle once walked from village to village, observing people speak, analyzing how arguments were built and destroyed. Now we see the same, but on screens. Debates without grounding, conclusions without premises. Information runs faster than thought. If Aristotle lived today, he might create Organon 2.0, not to write, but to filter digital lies. He would say truth will never lose, as long as humans still read until the end. Yet in this world of clicks and scrolls, truth loses to speed. The faster information spreads, the shallower we think. Ironically, the algorithms we use run on Aristotle's logic, cause, effect, and deduction. The world refuses to think, yet is ruled by machines that think like him. Modern darkness doesn't come from a sky without stars, but from minds that stop checking facts. Aristotle had warned, without logic, even truth can appear as a lie. He lived in a time when rumors could destroy cities, when gossip was taken as proof and myth as law. But Aristotle wrote, every claim must be tested by its cause. That became the seed of the scientific method we use today. Now the world is dark again, not for lack of light, but because of too much light that blinds. Everyone speaks, few think. Truth drowns in an ocean of claims racing to go viral, but Aristotle's logic never dies. Every time a scientist proves a theory, every time a journalist verifies a fact, he lives again quietly. Aristotle created logic to seek truth, but can logic explain everything, even itself? He believed the world could be understood through reason, yet near the end of his life, Aristotle wrote something rarely quoted. Even logic must bow to reality, a confession that beyond reason lies a realm, reachable only through awareness, not conclusion. His philosophy reached a paradox. When logic becomes perfect, it begins to question itself. Do humans think to understand the world, or merely to comfort their fear of ignorance? In his study, Aristotle stopped writing. He looked to the sky, as if searching for something that no argument could explain. The logic he built had become circular, beautiful, yet endless. And perhaps that was the secret. Logic is not the end of knowledge, but its doorway. And as long as humans keep asking, Aristotle will never die.